Welcome into Futsal News Live. Big summer this summer. Let's talk about it. Jump in and sound off on what your favorite part of the summer was. And here we go. What's going on, guys? Futsal News Live back. I know it's been a while since we've done anything on the channel. I think our last thing we did was we interviewed Kirsten back in July. And that was a really good interview. I was really happy with that. And I hope Kirsten enjoyed herself on that. Really good stuff. Kind of getting a peek into the life of a national team futsaler, which was pretty cool. Curious what you guys thought of the summer. There's been a lot of activity this summer in futsal, which is unusual for us here in the United States, and I was fortunate to be a big part of a lot of it, but it's not just about us. All kinds of big news, all kinds of action. So sound off in the comments. Let us know what you think your favorite part of the summer was. Love to talk about it here on the channel together and have a little hangout session. I've been gone for a while, guys. Thought this would be a good, fun, loose way to get back into the swing of things. So I think probably the easiest place to start would be the news of the U.S. national team getting its first ever full-time coach. I think that's probably the biggest news of the summer. And I was fortunate enough to have conversations with the extended national team staff before that announcement was made. And there's more to come on that as well. I think that you guys are going to see fairly quickly, fairly soon, I should say, that there will be more staff coming to the national team, or at least that was the case as of April. So keep an eye out for that. We might do some investigating while we're live on stream here today and just kind of see, you know, what that looks like. Has there been any updates? In fact, let's take a look right now while we're talking about it. So I know that the national team announcement wasn't exactly what some people thought it would be. There was a lot of protest when it came out, even though it's good news, because of the nature in which it was posted. There was a lot of references to soccer. There was a lot of references to the U.S. soccer culture. And a lot of people weren't super excited about that. In fact, I think Futsal Focus wrote an article about how they thought that that was bad for the future of futsal in the U.S. and that it was the wrong start to you know, what U.S. needs to change the culture and support futsal. But I got to tell you, based strictly on the job description, a lot of references to soccer, a lot of references to the U.S. soccer culture, which I know is under fire in a lot of ways, not only on social media, but just in general. So it's a curious thing because I actually spoke to the guys at US Soccer and got a really good vibe from them on what their expectation was for this role and what they were looking for in this role. So I'm on their website now. I wonder if I should share this. Let's just take a look and do some investigating together. But I think that I actually think that I came out of it feeling good about what was coming. So let's do this. Desktop. Did something wrong with my overlay. Here we go. Desktop. Okay. Let me stretch this out for you guys so you can actually see it. And actually now, it looks like that job has been taken down, so they must have somebody in mind. Am I missing something here? Let's use national. I'm probably senior analyst. Yeah, maybe. Oh, they must already have somebody figured out, guys. I was curious because I'd heard some rumblings. I'd heard some rumors. I heard the assistant coach for the women's team that went to CONCACAF was a big nod. I'd heard people kind of say that they thought that the next coach would be a foreigner, which was really interesting to me because I think we need a big culture change in the way that we do things in the United States, particularly with futsal, but all around, it would be nice to have kind of an outside perspective on things. So, yeah, maybe they've already got their person. That's really exciting. We'll have to keep an eye out for that and see if that's the case. I know someone that I get a lot of my inside information from that I think very highly of and has never steered me wrong tried calling me the other day, and we could not quite connect. I was in a work thing that went longer than I expected. By the time I called this person back, I missed them. But typically when they call, there's big news coming. So maybe we'll see an announcement soon. That's kind of cool. That's really cool, actually. I'm curious to see what happens there. So that's the biggest news. A full-time coach means a full-time commitment to futsal and the sport. So let's hope that, fingers crossed, this is going in the right direction for U.S. Soccer. They'd also made mention of the possibility of a full-time recruiter, like a full-time performance scout. So that's also kind of interesting too. What the timeline for that was iffy, and obviously the main focus was getting a coach. So I'm curious to see if the staff continues to grow. I mean, it could grow. Who knows? And we see more full-time staff, and it looks like beach soccer was also getting a full-time coach as part of that rollout too. So it looks like, you know, the extended national teams being the charitable arm of U.S. Soccer, we're getting some love with all this revamp that's going on in Atlanta. So that's always really good news. Probably the biggest story of the summer for me. And again, I know it was under some scrutiny, and there were some critics out there that weren't a fan of it. And I agree that the way that it went out wasn't exactly what I'd hoped for. But again, I after speaking with the folks over at U.S. Soccer, I have a lot of more confidence in them that they know what they're doing. I think they're going to be able to take care of this. So I actually have a lot of faith in this, that it'll go well, or it'll at least move the game forward, which is the most important thing. Again, guys, if you have anything you want to talk about the summer of futsal, be sure to sound off in the chat. We will happily talk about it. And we're just having a hangout session tonight. We're just kind of chilling out and talking about the summer of futsal and how it went. Curious what you guys thought about how everything was and where it's going from here. Biggest thing for me was that national team, but the thing I was most involved in was FCS and their first series of tours. And this was something that was kind of inspired from an idea I had when I very first started working with FCS. It got tweaked and worked into a bit of a different format, a better format. And through the process behind the scenes of me trying to build up this idea, I was going to brand it as a Super Cup. And my hope was to bring in teams from all over the country, some of the best teams from across the country, to participate in a tournament over a weekend. But biggest thing we ran into was in the early stages of that were getting teams to travel during summer is difficult, and getting teams to travel, period, is difficult, especially once you really stretch out to other parts of the country. United States having a big challenge with that, with the geography. So we had to scrap the idea for the season. Not everybody was thrilled about that, but I just couldn't put together a tournament that I liked, that I wanted to brand with the brand I'd created. Wanted to protect what I created and made sure that it was something that was valuable, that pushed the sport forward. But from that birthed the idea of these tours. So, okay, teams can't travel to us. How about we travel to them? A lot easier to send our production team than to try and send 3 or 4 full teams to one location. So that's how we came up with the tour concept. It was Lansing, Akron, Ohio, and then we were going to do Maryland, but unfortunately the Maryland one didn't work out. It should have been last weekend. But that's the beauty of these tours, is it is a great testing ground to see who's ready, what markets are strong, where potential future teams could come from. It's a great opportunity to learn and figure out what is best for futsal moving forward, and who the next big market could be. So really cool stuff. And we got a lot out of it. I got a lot of data out of it that I thought was valuable, and I'm really excited to see what happens next with futsal in the United States. Stay tuned for New Mexico flagship, which has transitioned to a futsal academy to work with youth players, and will have new staff and a new stadium for its league matches. Oh, very cool. That's awesome. Hey, that's really great development. I saw on social media you guys had announced the futsal academy, and I thought that was really great. And the new stadium, that's new. That's great news. I didn't know about that. That's really exciting. Do you guys know where you're going to be playing yet? That's amazing. The place where you guys play already has a lot of character, but I know it's tight, so makes some logistics difficult. But man, if you guys are getting into a new facility, that could be a massive game changer. That's really cool. Yeah, a couple big announcements out of the Southwest, aren't there? So you saw the announcement from New Mexico flagship of their youth academy. I see that there is another team joining the Southwest Division in the NFPL out of Mesa, which is really cool. That Southwest Division is always, since the time they joined the league, they've always been the bright spot of the NFPL, in my opinion. I think the best futsal is being played out of there, even though they, even before, we were going to play at West Mesa High School Gym. Okay, cool. Very cool. That's exciting stuff. I love it. Onward and upward. That's the most important thing. Yeah, I think overall some of the most exciting futsal in the NFPL is played out of the Southwest. Those games seem to be the most fun to watch too. I like it because I can watch my FCS stuff and then catch your guys' games. So it's great. It's great work. 700 fans. Oh, host more than 700. Oh, cool. Very cool. That is great. What a great step forward. Congratulations to you guys. That's really cool. You know, that's something we worked with our teams with over the summer. We had a couple locations that we wanted to work with. We're going to see a couple changes in venue for our FCS teams in the regular season, and they're seeing some upgrades too. And I'm glad to see teams doing that. It's really important. If people are going to take this sport seriously, it's got to look good, and a lot of that has to do with where you play. And right now, it seems like the larger schools, high schools, and even smaller colleges have been the best hosts, if they're willing, for futsal. So that's really cool. So it's really exciting stuff. I'm really glad to hear that you guys made that improvement. That's really cool. And then that other team that's in the NFPL, I think is out of Arizona, and I can't remember their name. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I want to say it was Unites. I'm going to butcher that. I'm so sorry. They got a cool little logo, little cartoon cactus. But yeah, that's really cool. Hopefully we see 5 teams in the Southwest next year. That's going to be really exciting stuff. And then I'm hearing rumors, and the rumor mill's been churning like crazy this summer. I'm hearing rumors of a Florida division in the NFPL as well. So that'll be cool to see if that happens. I know I've talked to folks in Florida to see if, some people reached out to us with some interest, but, FCS just isn't ready to expand outside of the Midwest yet. But it's really exciting to see that futsal's expanding at all. So that's really good stuff. I'm curious to see how things go in Florida if that is really the case. But yeah, really, really interesting stuff happening over the summer. And then on top of that, for us to be able to get a lot of action and games over the summer has been really cool too. So I'm really excited for that too. Close friends of ours. Oh, cool. Very cool. Yeah, I noticed in that in the announcement that there was a lot of references to Abruzza as well. So yeah, it's good. It seems like you guys do a good job out there of working together and sticking together to keep everything put together. 6 teams this season. Oh, very cool. So we got another expansion team being announced soon. That's awesome. I can't wait to hear that. That's really cool. I know the last time I spoke to the guys out there, this would have been... Oh, Los Angeles. Wow. Oh, that's going to be a bit of a trip for you guys. But that's really cool. In Colorado. Awesome. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I remember last time I chatted with, I can't remember who all was involved, but tried to do a couple people out there before this past season we had. And again, we're just not ready, but it sounded like there was some concerns of like, okay, well, who's the next teams? How do we grow this from here, from this core group? So to see it happening is awesome. That's really, really awesome. What that may shock some people that I feel that way, but like I know that I work for FCS, and the reality is like I'm a big fan of futsal, period. So I'd love to see growth. It's got to grow. And I actually think my mindset's probably a lot different than most people, especially from talking to a lot of these team owners and what drives them. I think that regions' strengths are more important than a national league. I don't think a nationwide league is ready. I don't think anyone is ready to host that truly and do it at a high level. But I like to see that these divisions are growing and being created, because that's what's going to grow the sport, especially at our level. I mean, the reality is we're at an amateur level right now, and we need to take care of futsal and take care of this grassroots movement before we can really get out ahead of ourselves too much, because that's where teams and leagues have failed in the past. I hear a lot of people reference like MLF and some other leagues that don't exist anymore, and I think they just got a little too far out ahead of themselves. Not in a bad way. I don't think that it's a slight to say that. I think it's just futsal isn't ready yet, and especially back then, it just wasn't ready yet. But if we can grow these regions and make them really strong and support these teams, then I think that the sport could grow and get really healthy. And maybe somewhere down the line, I doubt that any of the existing. In fact, I'd be so bold as to say I don't think that any of the existing leagues out there right now are going to be the eventual national league for futsal if it ever happens in our lifetime. But they're all super important to the development to get there, and I think that a lot of the teams that are involved in these areas could be a part of that future when the time comes. But they just need a place to grow and be supported in the meantime. That's the most important thing. So that's all really great news. I love to hear it. I hope those teams stick around. That's going to be really cool. I remember there being a San Diego team out there. I don't know my geography out west too well. Is Los Angeles further or closer to you guys than San Diego? I think it's closer, right? Isn't San Diego further south? I'm trying to remember. Let me look. I got to get educated here. Yeah, south. Okay. So I don't know if that helps you guys or not with the travel time. I know that's always a challenge for everybody, but that's really cool. Getting a nice little range there on your guys's division. You cover a lot of geography. Very neat. Well, yeah, and then even dating back to May, as I was chatting before, guys, if you want to sound off in the chat, I will always prioritize what you guys want to talk about over what I'm talking about. So feel free to sound off and let me know what your favorite parts were, and we will talk about it. I know I mentioned before we got started on the Southwest Division that these tours kind of came from an idea of mine that we honed and made better. and I think that they were a success. So, I look at that Lansing tour. That was really our first try at all of this. And you guys have heard me say on this channel before, I'm not a big fan of the tournament mindset for futsal in this country. I think that we're flooded with tournaments, and they really don't. They often don't grow the sport, but I do think they have their place in the sense that they can be a measuring stick. And I'll explain that a little bit. The reason I don't buy into them too much is it's too easy to, I call them mercenaries, where you can bring in mercenary players that'll just play anywhere. They just want to play, or especially if there's a cash prize involved, they'll travel anywhere to try and make a couple bucks. So teams that are champions of tournaments often aren't their real team. It's not a true representation of what they'd be able to do in a regular season. But I do like the idea of like being able to get into a market and being able to measure who's ready to support things like this and who is starting to show those first signs of infrastructure. So, Lansing we did as our first tour because it was safe more than anything. It's our home venue. It's the central location of our league. And we knew that we could put resources in there to make it look nice. And we had a good blend of teams from inside and outside FCS came and played. And I think it was really fun to see some fresh faces and some fresh logos. And it also gives those teams an opportunity to see what is required. It's a very small taste, but it gives them an idea of what's required to play at that level. So you saw some teams like... we saw some indoor soccer teams come and play with us. We saw some brand new teams come and play with us, and we saw some FCS teams play over the summer. And a lot of those FCS teams looked completely different than what they would in the regular season in some of their games because they're trying out different players, or maybe they needed help for travel over the summer. And I think the big takeaway from all of the tours, but particularly our national showcase we did in July, was collecting futsal players for a summer tournament is difficult and probably the largest challenge for these teams for the off season. So we saw a lot of that across the board. Everywhere we went, we saw very different rosters. If you guys paid attention to how the teams prepared for their games, you'll notice that they sometimes like had some players for half the day and not the other half because they had outdoor obligations. So it was interesting to see. And I think everybody battled with that. And it was really interesting. It was really interesting to see how people adapt. But that's a big reason why I don't take a ton of stock in tournaments, is because they're often not the real team. But the reception that we had from our tours and from our national showcase was fantastic. I was really, really pleased with how many fans tuned in to catch those tournaments and those showcases, and I think that it was a good product. So also gave us an opportunity to test during our off season things we want to do for the regular season. So you guys saw a lot from us, and differences in how we did graphics, what graphics we had available to us, stat keeping, game structure, all these things, facilities. In the case of Akron, testing out an Akron facility in Ohio, all these things were super important. So I'm really pleased with what we got out of it, even though there was some some things that didn't quite go our way over the course of the summer. I was really pleased with the overall sentiment of things. So I think it's going to be really good for the future of futsal, and I plan on doing. We plan as a league on doing it again next year. So I don't know exactly what that means for the tours. I think we'll always have a tour in Lansing to kick things off. I think it just makes sense. The Michigan market is strong. There is no better facility than Lansing City Arena. So why not start in the premier facility in the country, in my mind, and kind of kick off the summer in a really good way, in a really positive way. But I think what I'll change, and we've talked about this a little bit already. We're already planning a little bit for next summer, is the structure of those tours. So Like I said, the one where we really got outside of our market was Maryland, and it didn't quite work out. But I will say that I would still want to try to get back out there. So I don't know if we try Maryland again next year or if we try someplace else. I'm interested in all the markets we already talked about tonight, talking about other things. I'm interested in Florida. I'm interested in the Southwest United States. I'm interested in the Northeast. There's a lot of places I'm interested, but I know I can only really do 3 tours a year and then that national showcase. So if I were to set a goal for myself for next year, it would be to find a new location for our second tour. I'd like it to be somewhere in the Midwest still, but let's get out of, I think Ohio. I think we got what we're going to get out of Ohio for now. And it was a really good tour. I thought it was really successful, and I was happy to have it back in my hometown. I have futsal back in my hometown for the first time in 5 years at a high level. But I think also I can't be selfish on where we put these tours. So I like the idea of kind of playing around on the fringe of where we are currently to help us find those next teams and create those next opportunities. And then whatever that third tour is should be what our stretch is, way out of market, and test something way out of market, like a Maryland, like a Southwest United States, like a Florida or Northeast or California specifically. So all those things are things that are on my mind as I'm planning ahead for what we do for next off season. So curious what you guys think about that. What are some locations where you want to see us go, and who do you think's ready? And I'll just tell you what I'm looking for is I'm looking for someone who's ready to host the event. We do everything else. We carry all the other weight. We just need someone to host it, and that's the important thing. Oh, I see a couple comments in the chat here. Let me back up. Will be great if we can make an NFPL champion versus FCS championship match. Yeah, absolutely. I tried that actually. So my original plan for the tours was what we'd called a Super Cup, and my idea was to have the FCS, an FCS champion or Lansing. I was hoping to have the NFPL champion, which at the time was Grand Rapids Olay. I was hoping to have at the time Superliga was still happening, kinda. I didn't know at the time what kind of shape it was in, but I knew that there was a good team or two out there that would be good for a tournament. So I'd reached out to Baltimore Kings, and they were down for it. So we'd had Lansing, we'd had Olay, and we'd had Kings all committed. I just needed one more team, but I just couldn't figure that out. I couldn't get the travel portion figured out to get somebody out of market. My idea was to try and get who I can't remember who. I don't remember. I think I reached out to Coway at the time and David, because I knew them the best at the time, to see if they would come. And they both gave me kind of the same feedback. It's just far too expensive for them to fly a whole team out to the Midwest. And Colorado had just done that to play Olay just a few months prior. So I kind of realized like I'm asking too much, and I backed off. I didn't pursue it any further. And that's when we restructured it to the tours this year. And I think it was a way better program. Another comment in the chat from Andres, PA would be a great candidate for a league. There's a lot to pick up, but no teams. I hope there's a team soon. Yeah, that'd be sweet. Andres, I spoke to, there's a guy from Pittsburgh that plays for Innovation City in Akron, and I know him quite well from the youth scene, and he's a really good guy. And the guys that run the club in Pittsburgh, they're called Assassins. I know they've put men's teams together to play in tournaments. So, there's opportunity there. That doesn't currently exist, but could build out. Maybe him playing in FCS so far away. I mean, when you think about, for those of you that don't know, I mean, Akron to Pittsburgh's like 2 hours, I think, of a drive. So you're asking a lot from there. That's the furthest east FCS goes. So for a Western PA team to join FCS without us really taking a hard look at maybe possibly doing divisions or something would be a tough travel ask. But, again, when you think of what I think is best, which is finding these regional leagues for Pennsylvania to have their own league, can we find those teams? Can Assassins put a team together that can play in their own league, and can someone like Fuego in Chambersburg or Chambersville? I think it's Chambersburg. I know that they're very active in looking for games and want to find ways to increase infrastructure. Surely there's some teams that could be built in Harrisburg or Philadelphia if they have buy-in to futsal. The hard part's finding that buy-in to futsal. A lot of arena soccer action in PA and in Maryland and the rest of that DMV area. So the players are there. It's just about getting them to buy into the futsal scene, I think. I'm curious what you think about that, Andres. Are you in PA? Are you in Pennsylvania? I'd be curious what you think about how close you are to something like that actually happening. Because I'd love to see it. And the thing that we did, ultimately what we focused on and what I'm focusing on now is expansion within the Midwest in a different way. So, we founded women's division for FCS. We started our futures program for the youth, men, boys and girls. I agree. I'm in PA. Okay, you are. Cool. I have family around the Pittsburgh area and then south of Pittsburgh out in the sticks in West Middlesex. So and then I have a couple cousins in Cranberry just outside of Pittsburgh there. So and then like I said, I know some guys from Pittsburgh from Knowing Assassins. I know Ryan and Brennan out there. They're great guys. And they run a great program. What part of Pittsburgh are you in? Do you mind saying? I'd be curious if you're someplace I'm not familiar with and what's going on there, honestly. I think that I think it'd be great to see some stuff in Pennsylvania. One of the things I got really excited about right before I started this channel was I'd seen League One when it existed, which is run by the guy that it was ran by the guy that does Baltimore Kings. And I was still kind of new into figuring out all the futsal stuff and who all the players were, but they had teams listed from other cities. And there was a Pittsburgh team listed in there. I think they were called like the Iron Hawks or Steel Hawks, something like that. There was some kind of iron or steel reference because, Pittsburgh, of course, it has to be. So I thought the team was actually from Pittsburgh, but it turns out that was not the case. It was more people that were from the Maryland area that they were just trying to build out some teams and give them some team names to kind of, I don't know why it had a Pittsburgh name, to be honest with you, but I think they were trying to kind of build out what it could look like. I'm not sure what the intention was, to be honest, but I got really excited. I'm like, Pittsburgh, I don't mind. I would catch a game or two if there was a team in Pittsburgh, because at the time I had Columbus futsal near me, about an hour and a half drive. Then everything else was in Michigan. So at the time, and I ultimately knew some people up in Grand Rapids and ended up going up there to catch games a couple of times. That was before kids. Now I don't do that kind of stuff very often, but I think I went up 3 times and then went down to Columbus once. I was going to go twice and something came up the first time, but I made it down there for their semifinal match against Olay. Gosh, that had to have been 3 years ago now, I think. So my first child was born, but a little easier to manage than 2 kids at home, which is what I have right now, to leave the wife home alone all that time for me to just go watch a sport. So, but yeah, I love that we're seeing some. I think we're seeing a lot of stability start to form in futsal, and we're seeing a lot of growth form in futsal. So I think that's important. We're starting to see some new faces, which is good. I think we need it. We need some new faces that can hopefully shake things up for us, for our community. Poconos area. Okay, Poconos. Where is Poconos at? That's I'm looking now because I gotta cheat. Is that Eastern PA? Kinda sorta. Well, you're by Scranton. Kinda. That's cool. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I know that there's so the team that I just recently spoke to isn't close to you. They're in Chambersburg, and I think that's south, pretty far south of you, if I remember correctly. Um, but they seem to be putting together a nice little product out there. Fuego FC was their name. They were. I was chatting with them. They've got a young squad, a lot of college guys, and my August tour date being in Maryland just didn't quite fit for them. You know, this is the other thing that those tours have been beneficial for me is that I don't know everybody yet, so I've been really learning a lot about the markets, and I learned a lot about the teams in Maryland, and who's legit and who's not, who's learned about some politics out there too, I guess. So learned about some politics, which is everywhere. We've got it everywhere. But you know, he hates him, but he likes him, and this guy does this, but that guy does that. All those kinds of petty things that go on in the background. But Luke, what's going on, man? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the pop-up hangout. I was bored. I knew I needed to get back on this thing, and thought this would be a fun, loose way to get back into the groove of things. So, so yeah, here we are. We've been talking about some growth in the Southwest. They announced, I think you and I talked about this, Luke, earlier, but they announced a expansion team in the Southwest of the NFPL in Mesa, Arizona. And then we were chatting here with the guys over at Flagship, and they said that there's a potentially a Los Angeles team joining too. So that's kind of cool, kind of crazy. So that's fun. And then we're starting to talk about the tours too, and some of the successes and challenges. So right now we were kind of focusing on the Pennsylvania area because Andres in the chat is from there. So welcome to the stream. Now you're caught up. Yeah, it's been cool. I think I think that PA's tough because there's a lot of I think where you guys have a lot of forest and mountains kind of divides the state in two. So it looks like, you know, I think a lot of people think of a state and they go, oh, well, you live in this state, you must be close to this, or you must be near that. And I don't think that people realize how big of a state Pennsylvania is. I mean, even Ohio, where I'm at, doesn't look as big, is not as big as PA, but it's still a challenge to get across the state. I mean, look at, for FCS, you look at Innovation City versus Jenga in Cincinnati, which, by the way, repping their gear tonight. Thank you, Satoru, for the swag. I appreciate it. Showing you guys off tonight. So thank you very much. But yeah, I think that you think about that. Cincinnati to Akron is not easy. I think it's nearly 4 hours, 3.5. 3.5 for me, and I'm just outside of Akron, so on the west side. So when you think of PA, I mean, to go from Pittsburgh to Philly is probably more, right? Probably 4.5, 5 maybe. Ruben, yeah. Hey, I haven't talked to Ruben in a while. I hope he's doing good. I miss that guy. He had such a good energy. I hope he's doing well, and I hope he's still loving futsal and doing things for futsal, because he had some good ideas. I liked what he was thinking about. Yeah, across the state is quite the drive. It's 4 from me to get to Pitt. Okay, yeah, I figured it had to be pretty tough because, I mean, also, if you're not by a major highway in Pennsylvania, you got a long ways to go before you can even get into a main thoroughfare to start going at a decent speed. So, which Ohio's the same way. Not quite as bad because we've got some crisscrossing interstates, but I also take for granted I'm right by the turnpike and 2 major interstates where I am, so it's easy for me to get places compared to some other folks. Whereas, like, you get out into Northwest Ohio, it gets a little more difficult if you're not already on the highway. And I lived out that way for a short period of time and realized that very quickly. But man, it'd be great. It'd be great to get some stuff going in PA. I would love to see, you know, where I'd love to see some expansion in future. We're in Ohio now. Let's see some expansion in Ohio if possible. I would love to see Columbus Futsal make a comeback. I've been talking to them quite a bit to see where they're at, and it's not impossible. And when they were in that tour, man, it felt good to see those jerseys again. And you know, when I first started getting into futsal, that was the rivalry for me. Our Akron team at the time was rivals with Columbus, and those games were hot. They were really intense, and it was a brand new contest. The Akron team was brand spanking new, so it turned into an instant rivalry. There was this, at the time, Columbus had a lot of Brazilians on their team, and Akron had a lot of Argentinians on their team. So there's just like this natural strife that was created on the court between those guys. And, in the moment, at the time being just purely a fan, wanted to hate Columbus so bad. But I met Dante and I met Melissa, and I can't help but like them. I'm gonna have to see where things grow and how things go with teams in Ohio, and now that I'm involved in FCS and have kind of a leadership role there, I can't be a fan of anybody really. I got to be a fan. Well, I have to be a fan of everybody. That's the important thing. I got to support everybody and make sure I'm not biased. So I got to set aside that Ohio pride a little bit. But I'm excited. I am very proud, though, that Ohio is growing in the sport and that it is back. And I'm excited to see it in kind of a different venue. That LeBron James Arena that we were in is a unique place, named after LeBron James, who, everything's famous about that school is LeBron. That's his alma mater. And now we're going to be trying to get futsal kickstarted there, which is really exciting stuff. I can't wait to see where things go, and if we can grow more history of sport in Akron through that facility, especially after LeBron made such a big investment in that school and that gymnasium. Ohio pride runs deep. A lot of states are that way, but man, you guys meet Ohio State fans and how obnoxious they are. I can admit it. We're obnoxious. And it's it's a big part of it. So I think that though the tour in Akron, to segue, was successful. I was really excited about how that turnout was. It wasn't the same in-person turnout that we saw for Lansing. In fact, it was quite a bit less, but it accomplished what we needed it to accomplish. We wanted to understand, the facility. It was a great way to test out the facility. And I've said this in a couple other places, but so you guys know, I was already planning the Akron tour before we accepted the Akron team, Innovation City. So I was already in the works of that tour in hopes of kind of reigniting some passion in Akron for the sport. And then when Innovation came to me, it was a no-brainer, especially to keep things going there and kind of give them a chance to set their debut, which was really cool. They made it to the final and lost to Columbus. And I thought that was just so cool that they did so well. There was a couple of favorable moments for them, I think, in some games, like particularly the Lansing game. I think they had a couple of favorable moments, but they took advantage of them, which is important, and then held on to the game, which is difficult against a team like Lansing. So I was really impressed with their debut. I was also very intrigued by the university presence we had at that tour. So we had Cleveland State University. Their futsal club was there. I met those guys a year ago, and they had a similar problem to what Westcliff University had a couple of years ago before that folded up. Was that they were in a lot of ways, they're one of the first ones to the table. So there's not a lot of other people for them to play. So you had this futsal club that couldn't find, and now important to note with the difference between Cleveland State and Westcliff. Westcliff's futsal program was a true school program, a true school sport that had scholarships. Cleveland State's program is a student-run club that receives funding from the university. So make sense of that as what you will. It's not an official sport of the university because that counts against like the number of teams they can have through NCAA. So student run. I think they learned a lot from it, for sure. As far as like what kind of competition is out there, I think it was a great networking opportunity for them, or at least I hope it was. I hope that they found some networking opportunities there. And then I know that a lot of those guys took advantage of being in front of Innovation for that weekend And I think we're going to see a lot of those Cleveland State guys participating under the banner of Innovation City over the course of this next season too. I think a few of their guys got signed on with Innovation. So ultimately, I think that was their end goal, was to find a way to just grow futsal for these college students. And I think that's a missed opportunity for a lot of colleges, that these people from other countries that come here for an education and they have the street soccer cultures and this futsal culture, they have nothing to do here. It's organized. So hopefully this helps start that. And then we had Grace Futsal too. So Grace Futsal was from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and they actually were the soccer team for Grace Christian. It was a lot of their players, and they branded under Grace Futsal to kind of form a futsal arm and keep touches over the winter. And so they came down all the way from Grand Rapids, and that was kind of a late entry for us. We weren't expecting that, and they kind of showed up in the final hour, and it was cool. It was really cool. And then they came down with a full team. They were all very nice, and I think they learned a lot as well. And I think that I learned a lot from that as well, because one of the big things I think I notice is so many of these new teams are playing soccer on a futsal court still. Even Innovation, who's playing in FCS next year, they're a little guilty of that too. But you notice that the teams that truly play futsal have an advantage. And I think it really leans into the fact that, the mindset in the futsal community is changing, in the sense that, like, hey, we're not a training tool for soccer anymore. We want to be our own thing. And I think that's a great way to think. And I think that it proved it in our tours, that, these college athletes were having a hard time keeping up with the futsal players. And, they're great on the grass, but they struggled to adjust to the speed and the complexity of that indoor game on the court. So it's just fun, to have that fun little argument with our big brother soccer, and continue to say, like, hey, I for me, from my perspective, I want futsal to be a standalone sport. I don't buy into this, using it as a training tool. You're more than welcome to, and it has its place, but I think futsal itself should be futsal. So I'm really excited for that, and seeing that continue to evolve and change right before our eyes. But yeah, that Akron tour was good for a different reason, and I think those were the big ones. Oh, here's Luke. He said, I think it is a hard thing to pick out for a non-futsal connoisseur. Ooh, nice word. But soccer on the futsal court was obvious to me. Yeah, for sure. And you can tell by, how, Luke, I don't know if you agree with this or not. You know how I can tell is the first touch. The first touch tells me all I need to know of whether you've played futsal or if you're a soccer player. And a lot of those games that we watched, both in the Lansing tour and actually across everything we did over the summer, because there was a lot of repeat teams. Everything that we saw over the tour, the teams that didn't have a lot of possession, or there was a lot of back and forth during games where nobody really had control of the game, those were the soccer teams, because their first touch would fail them, and they were constantly fighting for 50-50s the whole game, and were wore out by the end of the tournament, and kind of you notice, like, the last game or two, they'd be getting gassed, and then the score would get really out of hand. And at least in the early games, they may not have been winning, but they were competing, but they were chasing themselves the whole game, and that's a big difference. I just hope the sport continues to grow. Everyone take care and have a... Andres, thanks so much for joining us tonight, man. I'm really glad you were here. I hope you enjoyed it. And hopefully we see you in future streams and in future video comments. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. First touch for sure. It's step trapping too. Yeah, that sole of the foot, man. That sole of the foot makes all the difference. I went to a street soccer tournament in Cleveland 2 Mondays ago. So last Monday. And you can see it there. All the semi-pro teams in Northeast Ohio came and played in a little tournament. Innovation City was there too. I was impressed with Innovation City. That's a team that still doesn't have a lot of continuity yet, not a lot of chemistry yet. And considering that, I thought they did well. But the biggest thing that failed them was that first touch. And when you're playing street soccer in a tight space, just like futsal, it is going to punish you in such a bad way, such a big way. Here, let me see if I can pull that. I know that I am very, very very, very adamant about this being all futsal a lot of the times, but I do want to show you guys this street soccer tournament because it was pretty sick. So I need to go to Cleveland. Let's go to old Instagram. Here we go. Okay, you guys will like this. Oh, this is the beautiful shot right here. This was my favorite shot of the night. The photographers were really good. I was really impressed with the work they did. Boom. Okay, here we go. So this is towards the end of the night. I think this was the... This looks like it was the final, warming up for the final. So as you guys are looking at this, thinking of Cleveland, Lake Erie, right on Lake Erie. So this right here is the Cleveland Browns Stadium. I think it's currently called Huntington Bank Stadium or something. It's named, the naming rights, I think, went to Huntington Bank. But this is where the Cleveland Browns play. And all the city lights are up, which is so sick. I mean, just so cool. So that was just beautiful to me. I thought that was so awesome. Yeah, it looks amazing, doesn't it? Doesn't it look so cool? Yeah, so this was here, let's see what else we got here. So pop-up park, this is called North Shore Park. If you guys have ever seen Soccer Rebellion in Grand Rapids, it was kind of that kind of vibe. There was a live DJ, there's a soul food truck, which was so good, by the way. Oh my gosh, so good. And then there was 8 teams, 2 4-team groups. Top 2 from each went to a semifinal and then a final. Little cash prize at the end, but that's something else they're doing. So Cleveland Pros, this Instagram account, guys, you're looking at, this Cleveland Pros Soccer that I'm looking at, they're starting a WPSL team. So that's why you'll, like, as I'm shuffling through here, there's some women's stuff in here, because that's really what they're pushing for. And I think they're also now doing an MLS Next team in Cleveland as well, the same ownership group. Yeah, those city lights, man, looking good, looking real good. And then I had, this is what I wanted to show you guys right here. So this is a great drone footage of the park. So 2 basketball courts is what they played on, and then they did some short goals. I said like I set this up. But this is a really cool park. Can I pause this? Yes. This is a retired freighter. So this is William and Mather. This freighter was built in 1925 and is now a museum for like maritime on Lake Erie. So Lake Erie, Cleveland, is known for some famous ships. If you guys have ever heard of the Edmund Fitzgerald, Luke, you probably live too far away to ever have heard of Edmund Fitzgerald, but that's a very famous local thing for us. But this park is literally right on Lake Erie. Isn't that so cool? And they use these shipping containers out of the port to create this little pop-up park. And they do street soccer here every Monday night. And then the idea is they're hoping that proof of concept from this, that they can hopefully expand the park and make it a real park and have it right here downtown and reclaim some of this shoreline here. So when this loops back around on this loop, I'll try and pause it again and show you. Well, right here, you can see how this is all just like empty parking lot that's blocked off. So one of the ideas is to like create a real park with grass and trees and stuff down this shore right here. Another thing, so this is the food truck right here, right next to it, right there. So the idea is like, hey, let's get some more food trucks in this space in future. Bathrooms back here behind these shipping containers. And then this big shipping container right here behind this second tent was a bar. So they were serving alcohol and other drinks back there, sodas and stuff. And the front of the shipping container is just 2 big doors. So they just open it up. It's got like those hanging lights, those really cool hanging lights. And yeah, I thought they did a really great job building up the culture, doing that, the local soccer culture and futsal culture. And it brought all the ownership and all the teams together. And you can see here, like the fans really got a big kick out of it. That's the Cleveland Crunch, the local indoor soccer team, signing autographs for the players. They called it the kick out. This is what it was called, was the kick out. And it was so successful that they're talking about doing another one now in the fall. So we might see another one of these pop up real quick. And if they do, I'll definitely be going because it looked really cool. It was a ton of fun. And I think they said final count, they had 500 people. 500 people show up to this thing, which is just so cool. So yeah, I thought I'd share that with you guys. That was a fun little thing I got to go see. I got to enjoy some time with Innovation City and see what they were up to. And see how they're progressing, which was fun, and chat with those guys. I know a lot of those guys just from being around the Akron area. I've known them from playing pickup, from playing them in local indoor soccer leagues and stuff before I had kids. And it's good. It's good to support it. And it was really cool to see all the teams come out and support each other in a big way. So the idea is hopefully this proof of concept. Talking to the guy who put this together, I talked to the director from Cleveland's Pro Soccer who put this together. And his idea is, hey, I want to prove to the city of Cleveland that we need more of this. Let's build more of these courts around the city of Cleveland. Let's expand this park. Let's put a full-size court out here. Like he's got really big aspirations. So it could be really cool. I'd like to see how that evolves. So imagine a full-size outdoor futsal court. I don't know of any place like that right now. Because street soccer is not really that vibe, so doesn't need to be big. So be curious. It'd be a curious thing. But he really wants to work with some futsal academies and teams and get things working. And he has a good presence in Cleveland too. So when I think of the Ohio market, who knows? Maybe Cleveland's ready for something like that. But they've got a lot of indoor and amateur soccer scene, semi-pro scene out there. It's a little crowded right now, but could be something we see in the future. Kind of interesting. So I love networking and doing that kind of stuff. So that was another big highlight of my summer. But back to the actual futsal summer. Sorry guys, adjusting here. I think the showcase was our crown jewel, and we did a lot there. And Luke in the chat was a big part of that with the production piece. And we tested a lot of things, and we broke some things testing them and figuring out what our limits were. And like I said, guys, this summer that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to really push the limits, figure out where they are, and I think we did that. So if you guys are just joining into the chat, make sure and sound off. Let me know what your favorite part of the summer was. We'll talk about it. I'm curious what you guys think about the summer. There was a lot of futsal activity. There's been a lot of growth. Already some announcements of expansion for the winter from us and from NFPL. And I hear some... I mentioned earlier, for those of you that are just tuning in, I'm hearing rumors of Florida for NFPL that are starting to really pick up. So that might be an expansion announcement coming up soon. We found out in the chat today that there might be an expansion to Los Angeles for NFPL. So that's really cool. But yeah, I think that what we accomplished, I'm really proud of. My focus is the Midwest right now. It has to be. I'm watching what every other league does, and when they start to lose steam is when they expand too fast. And we've already started to see some victim of that ourselves. We've had to make some adjustments even since we've made announcements. So what you guys saw from the beginning of us in the summer as announcements will not be what you see exactly from us at the beginning of the season. We found out some teams weren't ready for some of the commitments they made. We also found that there's teams outside of the areas we thought would be interested that are still interested in participating in some cool stuff like futures, and are asking us about expansion and what more we can do for expansion. I'll say this: if somebody comes across this video in this clip and is interested in Futsal Champion Series as a potential league to join, I will tell you this. I know in years past, futsal has been very disorganized and things kind of happen, when they happen. There's not a real plan. That is not how I operate. I am planning ahead all the time. So our season's already been released. We did this last year and everybody was shocked. Our season schedule releases in August, for the start of beginning of November. Nobody else does that. I had figured out my expansion teams for this season before last season was over and capped it. And then we made a decision to add a team over the summer as an expansion team that I should have stuck with my gut and not done. But we learned from that. I'm still new at this, and I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm going to do it right in front of you guys, but I'm not afraid to admit them. I did not. My gut wasn't completely sold, and I should have listened to my gut in this particular scenario. But I'm learning. It's funny. I'm in a position where, like, I have a lot of imposter syndrome in this position because I'm really brand new to this scene when you really consider it. I've been doing this channel now for 3 years. I've been following the sport in a diehard capacity only since 2020. So I've been in a constant state of being a sponge and absorbing as much information as I can, and I try not to stop because I know everyone around me is much more knowledgeable than me. But what I do know is that the way things have been working for the last several years has not worked, and we needed change. And I was thankful that FCS gave me that chance to help create that change. In a lot of ways, they said, okay, prove it. Put your money where your mouth is, and I got to do that. And that's really exciting for me. But they also know, and I know, I'm self-aware that I am inexperienced. So, things like that, things like understanding who the players were for the Maryland tour. I think that had I been more educated earlier in the summer, I could have made that Maryland tour succeed. But I just learned too much too late about potential teams out that way. My research had kind of hit a brick wall, and then something flared up in my algorithm that I started to find more stuff too late, and I just couldn't jam anybody through that last minute. So I still have faith in Maryland in that market. I think that let me put it this, I almost said I thought I was the problem for that and why it failed or didn't get off the ground. I don't think it was a failure. We learned a lot from it, but why the tournament didn't happen. Teams it was too late a notice for a lot of teams. No one out there was really prepared for summer futsal except for a small handful of teams. And I will say this, there were a couple of people out there that worked their asses off to try and make it happen. And they deserve a ton of credit. And I hope that people recognize their work for whatever they do in future because they are the people that really tried to push things forward. And one of those people is a friend of the channel, James, out there in the DMV area. He's done a lot for pickup and building the culture out there. He's worked with some clubs. He started his own club. He's done a lot of things. And I got to tell you guys, he deserves so much credit for how hard he worked to try and make that Maryland tour a reality. And unfortunately, we just couldn't get where we needed to be to make it work. So it's unfortunate. But again, I think that if, I got to talk to the league and everybody in the league staff, but if we decided we wanted to try Maryland again, I'm not sure I'd be opposed to that. I think I would try it again. But I'd also like to see what other markets are interested. That's not an open and shut case, but I would be very interested. So it's cool. It's cool stuff. So even though we didn't do that final tour, I thought that the national showcase was a really good exclamation point on our off season in July. So I think that was really cool too. Despite FCS, the FCS is on a rocket ship on the way up. The league is going to be growing every year. I sure hope so, man. Luke, I sure hope so. And I feel the same way. I feel like we've been on a trajectory that I never expected. I've mentioned, I think it was on a third half podcast for the league. I mentioned that I never expected us to grow this fast this early. It is well far beyond my expectations of how quick I thought we would expand. I thought that we'd see some expansion. I thought we'd see a lot of interest. I truly believe that. I thought it would all be local in the Midwest. It wasn't. It was nationwide, the interest we got in the middle of our first season doing this. I mean, I got calls I had people interested in us, asking about us from Florida, from the Southwest, from the Maryland area, DMV. I had interest from Canada on what we were doing for the league and really pushing for, hey, is there a way we do this over the border? I think right now that's not possible, but much like any other expansion, not so much because of distance, but because of current politics, I think that would become difficult. Women's. Yeah, hey, Brian, what's up, man? Welcome to the chat. National Showcase. I got to imagine that was a highlight for you since you got to be there. Even though you got put to work, which is kind of crazy. Shame on those guys. But yeah, I really love that national showcase. You know what? I know we called it a national showcase. It was a lot of local teams. It was mostly FCS teams. I truly see that national showcase becoming something that people want to be a part of and possibly travel for in future. I really hope and kind of dream that we have a team application problem in the next couple of years where we can't accept everyone. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. I hope it becomes the mindset, but I think that's years away. I said that about our current growth before it happened, and I was wrong. But I think the travel is the hardest bit, and then summer futsal being the second hardest bit. I mean, that's a hard challenge to overcome. But in future, if this mindset continues to shift and adjust, I can see possibly something happening. I mean, I had some teams, arena soccer teams, and other teams that were interested in our tours and in that national showcase that just couldn't make the dates work. So now we've done it. Now there's record of it. Hopefully, we see something happen that is really cool. And we see some of these other teams from outside of FCS start to participate in it and give the league a run for their money. I would love to see that. Truly a labor of love. Learned a lot, enjoyed it a lot as well. Oh, Brian, that's great, man. I got to tell you, all the time I was, remote with you guys, the camaraderie we have is great. I love it. I absolutely love it. And same with you, Luke, on there too. Not to turn this live stream into a love fest, but I mean, we are very fortunate to have a very, very strong and productive and selfless production team. Truly, that's what has made us successful, is the production team. And I mean that at every level, every single level of it. Whether it be our statisticians, whether it be our camera people, whether it be people like Brian and Luke that are, donating their time to make this happen. Our commentators, Gerard and Jared. I mean, guys, a year ago, Gerard didn't really know futsal that well, and he's educated himself in a big way. He's a study of the game. He's very passionate about the game in such a great way. I mean, that's the kind of growth we need. That's the kind of new faces we need. That's the stuff that really grows the sport. So appreciate everyone's support for FCS. Truly do. And for this channel. I know I've been slacking this year. I think my last video was all the way back in the spring. And I've kind of been spotty on live streams. I did get one in last month, though, with Kirsten, which was fun. I'm curious what you guys think about that, too. I mean, we've done this format for a long time, where we've done live streams as interviews. Luke and I did some solo interviews for a while, or live streams for a while, where we talked about stuff that was going on. We did a lot of videos on the news of things. I've started doing shorts. I don't know if you guys want to see something change. If you do, now's the time, because I'm trying to kind of get restarted here. And to kind of explain myself, from a personal perspective, I had a lot happen between the spring and now. I ran into some, I don't want to scare anybody or look for sort of like fake sympathy. I had some minor health issues that kept me from streaming in the spring that kind of stopped me from doing those things. So I put all my energy into those CONCACAF streams in the spring and kind of cut out the videos because I needed a break to kind of make myself right. Well, then I did that, and then the summer tours took over a lot of time, and then I didn't manage my time well during that time period with that new burden. But now I feel more confident in what my balance needs to be to get this going again. But my new challenge will be someone else in my family is really ill, so I need to take care of them. And so I can't guarantee you guys that this will get better as far as consistency, but I keep looking at the calendar. The Women's World Cup's right around the corner, and I don't want to be stagnant. I want to be around for that. So I'm going to try my very, very best to get consistent again, because I love doing this with you guys, and I love what we built. And I think it's special because it's a place where people are honest. It's a place where people can give honest opinions, and I think that's needed in futsal. There's such a large lack of transparency across the majority of futsal, and I think we're fixing that with some of the things we do with FCS. I think what Jared and Gerard do with the third half helps with that a ton, and I think what we do here helps with that a ton. I do have to be a little bit mindful now. I think that, people may think of me as the FCS guy. So it's really important for people to know that what I share here is my opinions, not the league's opinions. That's why it's a separate channel. That's why it's just me. And that's why I don't put myself in front of the camera at FCS, because that's not what FCS is about. I want you guys hear me. In fact, I'll say this. You guys hear me kind of jokingly correct those guys when I am on camera that I am not a commissioner. I am my title is director of operations, and I don't care about titles, but that's what I went with. I think that being named the commissioner of something amateur is silly. And I think it's just to me, like, it means nothing to me to be named the commissioner of this. Like, it just needs to happen. And I think that by me not highlighting that so much, and by the sport being the sport and me staying away from the camera, is super important. I don't want to be behind the mic for that unless I'm doing commentary, because I need to support my commentary team. And I don't want to be in front of the camera as like this league representative unless it's something important, like the finals. When we do the finals and there's a trophy presentation, that's the time that a league representative needs to be involved. But for the rest of it, I have no interest, and I just don't think it's the right thing to do. You don't see, like, I mean, it's different, but because it's pro and they end up on camera, just by being there. But even then, you don't see real commissioners, real professional leagues. Like, you don't see them just like putting themselves in the spotlight because it's about the sport. That's what the fans really want to see. So I tried to model off of that. I am not a commissioner, and this is just an amateur league. I don't take myself so seriously that I think I need that title right now. And quite frankly, I don't think I've earned it. That's the biggest driver for me not going with that is I have not earned that title yet. When I do, I'll let you know, and I'll take the name, I'll take the title. But I think that it's important that we grow this sport to a point that a real commissioner is deemed necessary. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. So that's my personal opinion. That's a very harsh self-reflection that I like to, I try to stay as humble as possible in these ways. And I think I have people around me that will check me if I'm not. I like to think I do, because that's important to me. I just like the word commish. It is a great word. Commish is a great word, but it is not me. I'm not ready for that yet. Maybe when I feel ready, I will take that moniker, but I really think it's important that that's earned in a big way. So I think I'm doing some great things. Like, I'm not trying to crap on myself completely and act like, oh, I've done nothing. I'm really proud of the expansion. I'm really proud and fortunate that we put this production team together in the first try and that they work so well together. Some really great things have been done since I've joined, and I'm really, really proud to be a part of it. But none of it was all because of me. None of it. And that's what makes me the most proud, actually, is that it was a team effort, and it was the futsal community coming together to make it work. So that's the best part for me. That's the most exciting part is, hey, I've said for years that this could work if we just get people together to do it right. And then we did, and we have. So congratulations to the futsal community for that. So yeah, summer was big. Enough about that. Let's move on. We talked in the very beginning of the stream about the men's national team position for the coach. That application has been taken down from U.S. Soccer. So as a review on that real quick, they must have somebody in mind. I'd heard a rumor that it was the assistant coach for Barato. I missed a call from one of my quote unquote sources that usually feeds me some information when they get it, and they've never been wrong. But I think they might have been calling me because they knew something about that, especially now that I've seen that the post is down. And then when I talked to U.S. Soccer, the guys at U.S. Soccer, they had also mentioned an additional position coming that would be full-time as well to help support that coach. So hopefully that's something that we can kind of put a bow on the summer with and have some really exciting news about. I think all this expansion and remodeling that's going on in Atlanta isn't just with the building. It's going on with the spread of funds and how things are working. So I'm really excited to see that happen. And then looking ahead, I'm really excited for the upcoming FCS season. So we released our schedule, and maybe I can pull that up real quick for you guys, and that can be kind of how we close the night. But let me switch here. I'm the worst streamer in the world. Here we go. Okay. So as you guys can see, we got a couple of up in that top ticker. We do have a couple of friendlies, exhibition matches going on in Lansing. So you'll see some more streams from us for the off season there that will still happen. And then our regular season kicks off in Ohio, which I'm pretty proud of. I didn't do that on purpose, by the way. That's just how it worked out. So before anybody says anything, guys, okay, let me put it this way. If I was really behind this, starting in Ohio, it'd start in Akron, but it starts in Cincinnati. So there's your proof. But our schedule's been released for the men. So I'm curious what you guys think. Oh, that's a cool little addition. So I'm curious what you guys think of the teams that are involved, and who's going to make the biggest impact in week 1. So 2 interesting matches, and I see Brian in the chat, Jenga playing in a new location at some different dates and times. Yes, so Jenga will no longer be at the Flock. They are moving to Elite Athletic Sports Complex, which is in Batavia, which is east of Cincinnati, but still in the Cincinnati area there. So that's going to be a change. So that'll be interesting. Brian, I think you mentioned you'd been there before, right? So you know the facility fairly well. But that's where our season kicks off, is in this new facility, Elite Athletic Sports Complex. And then Olay versus Chicago House, rematch from the finals of the National Showcase. So that's really cool. And then the following week, we start to see the debuts of the other teams. So Imperial, Midwest, Shoreline, and Lansing City all play in that week 2. We got a full slate of games there. One thing I'll have you guys notice is the way we did the schedule this year, there is 0 overlap of games, as long as everything stays on time. So we didn't schedule any overlapping games so that we can stream every single men's match without any interruption. And we have got a really solid production team. And I want to keep them intact and give them the best possible chance for us to put our best foot forward. So that's the most exciting thing. So let me pull up the standings here so you guys can see the teams a little better. But I want to hear from you guys in the chat who you think, well, first, who are you most excited to see? And then second, who do you think is the best contender? Is it going to be Olay again? Or is someone going to knock them off their perch? And if so, who's it going to be? Olay versus Chicago going to be hot. Yes. That's a great opening match for the opening week. Well, second match of the opening week. It's really going to set a tone, I think. So, yeah, you guys, we've got 8 teams. We're representing teams in Chicago, Detroit, Cincinnati, Akron, Lansing, of course. We now have, we're back to 2 teams in Grand Rapids. And then Shoreline City is in Muskegon. So we are expanding to some new cities this year. We're seeing some fresh faces. We've seen everyone before because a lot of the new expansion teams participated over the summer, which was great. The top contender can't not be Olay. Yeah, I agree. I agree, Brian. I think Olay is going to be at the top again. But I don't think they're going to go undefeated this year. That's my bold prediction. And I might get slaughtered because a lot of those guys have my number from the old days. But that's fine. But I don't think they're going to go undefeated. It is really, really difficult to do that twice. And I think with the quality of the league, there's a couple things that I could see as variables. Midwest was, with the exception of their match where they got blown out by Olay, I thought that they play Olay very well. I could see them having a win over Olay this year because they're going to be super hungry to get that revenge. And then I also think Lansing City, if they can stay healthy, could be a potential upset for Olay. I don't know enough about Shoreline yet to know how I feel about their contentions. And then Chicago House is very young. I think that they're going to keep up with Olay. I don't know if they're going to beat them, but I know that they've learned a lot from the tours. If the young guys can figure out the mental capacity to not let the game get away from them from a mental perspective, because as we know, Olay is loud and aggressive on the court, and they play those mind games. A couple players particularly that do really well at that. There's the some of the calamity that goes on when there is and isn't calls that kind of change the game and the mentality of the game. So I feel like Chicago House, Lansing City, and Midwest are all kind of upset alerts when they face Olay for me. Not guaranteeing that happens, but I think somebody or one or two of those teams may be able to steal a win or at least some points away this year. So that's my bold prediction, my not so bold prediction, I guess, because I kind of fluffed it. As far as if I recall, Jenga did well at home but struggled on the road last year. If they can figure out how to travel well. Yeah, Brian. The one thing I'll say about that, though, Brian, is they played on that smaller court. And I think that if they would have played on the larger court, it would have been a different story. I really do. I think that when you look at both of the Jenga matches that were played on the smaller courts, it completely changed the style of the opposing team. And I think when you look at the league this year, we're going to be very, very strict about court size. So you can't, in those couple of cases, there was a rescheduling conflict where they ended up on that small court last minute. We're not going to do that kind of stuff this year. We're going to preserve the court size all season, whatever that takes. So, or at least that's my goal. I'm excited to see what Jenga puts together this season. They had some exciting new players at the summer tourneys. Yeah. I think when they were in Lansing, those were Lansing guys. So I don't know how much we'll see them travel. But I did like what I saw from Jenga in Akron. Those guys were fun to watch. And my brother was there. It was his first time really watching futsal since the Vulcans were a thing. And he kind of fell in love with that Jenga side. And I got him. I asked Sotoro if I could buy one of these shirts for him because I wanted to tease him a little bit, get him a shirt, and tease him in a good way, in a fun way. And he's like, "Man, I feel bad because I'm supposed to be cheering for Akron, but I'm liking these Jenga guys." And I'm like, "Yeah, they're fun to watch." So it's cool stuff. It's cool how we're making fans, and I think it'll continue to happen. The schedule this year is you face 3 teams home and away, and then you face 4 teams once, either home or away. So it's a total of 10 games season for everybody again, 5 home, 5 away. So it'll be a little interesting to see how that shakes things up in the standings too. You're not going to get that chance at revenge necessarily if you're not facing the right team. Like I think, for example, Innovation City plays Shoreline once. Innovation City, I think I think Jenga only plays Shoreline once. I think, if I remember right, I think Lansing only plays Detroit once, if I remember. I'd have to look again. But the point is, it's going to be a lot more intense, I think, as far as how important every single game is. Like not traveling to a game well could potentially kill your season now, in my opinion. How will playoffs be this season or this year? Great question, Brian. We are seeing a change in the playoff structure this year for the men. So we will have, when we were texting each other about it for the structure, we were calling it a quarterfinal, but it's really a round 1. So the 4th, 5th, 6th, or no, excuse me, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th place teams are going to face each other in the first round. So that'll be 3rd versus 6th and 4th versus 5th. The winner will go on to face in a semifinal the first seed and the second seed. So that seeding process, last year this worked out where like that home game seeding was really important. It kept the games important until the I mean, mathematically till the last game of the season, but realistically, second to last game of the season, where Ole was locked in to home court advantage, but not first. Midwest had to get an extra game because they didn't get help from other teams before they secured that first round home court. So this year it's kind of a similar thing. Now, first and second, you want that bye, you want that first round bye, and then third and fourth are really going to be fighting for that home court advantage with fifth and sixth. Then what's going to happen is the lowest seed that wins that first round will face the first round team. So if the sixth place team upsets the third place team, they will face number one. But if 3 and 4 win, then it's different. Or 3 and 5 win, then it's different. So or if 4 and 5 win, then it's different. So depending on who's the lowest seed. So number one earns the right to host the lowest seed in the semifinal. Number 2 hosts the next biggest. And then, of course, a final again to be hosted in Lansing City Arena. So we will be hosting the final again in Lansing City Arena. And I believe you guys will see us stream the women's final there, as well as some futures games there. I don't know if we're doing all the futures games yet or not, but I think we're going to try. So we got to figure that out yet. But a lot of cool stuff going on, a lot more streaming opportunities going on. We won't be streaming all of the futures games, only the finals, and it might only be select finals. We got to figure that out yet. That's a lot of games to figure out. So we're still working on that. But like I said, I like to plan things early, so we're planning as much as we can ahead of time. I'm already thinking about the summer for next summer, now that I've got this schedule fairly sorted out. But I'm not losing sight of the moment. We're definitely going to manage this well, make sure we take care of people, but I want to make sure I continue to plan ahead and continue to plan for what's best for the league in the best way possible. So I'm trying to think way out in advance. I want to make sure whatever we do, I've thought about it already, if I can. Travel is going to be a big factor this season as well. Yeah, you know what? So, Luke, that is a really good point. When you think about the teams that we've added this year, they all extend the travel in some direction. So Chicago is not far from the Michigan teams, or at least they're not any further than most. But our furthest point would be Chicago to Akron, and that's at least a 6-hour drive, and Chicago traffic is really unpredictable. So that could very easily become a 7-hour trip. Muskegon to Akron is super far. It's, I think, 5.5. It's really close to the same as going to Chicago. And then Cincinnati to virtually anywhere is really far, except for maybe Akron. Cincinnati to Akron's 3.5. That's probably going to be the shortest Ohio trip for both those teams. And I think Akron to Detroit is 3. So those, everybody's traveling. Everybody from outside the state of Michigan is traveling several hours to at least a game or two. And then all the Michigan teams being together, of course, they get it kind of easy for their travel structure. So yes, travel is going to be super important. Having a reliable reserve of players is going to be crazy important this year. I think it's going to make. I think it can make or break some teams. And then from the kind of a final perspective on that, looking forward, is Cincinnati 2 from Chicago is tough. Yeah, that's going to be a tough one too, Brian. You're right. That's probably the same as Akron, just from a different direction, is it not? Probably about 5-6 hours. I'll go to Cincinnati. Well, it says just under 5, but again, that Chicago traffic is so unpredictable. And the Chicago facility is on the west side of Chicago. So, plus our private jet sponsor fell through as well. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I haven't gotten any calls about any Saudi money yet, so it's not gonna happen. But maybe someday. They're getting into everything these days. In fact, not joking, Saudi Arabia actually is getting into futsal, and they're trying to buy up a bunch of big name players in the futsal scene right now. So they're kind of doing what they did in outdoor now in futsal, which is interesting. I'm curious to see how that evolves. But anyway, sidebar. I've been caught in Chicago traffic many times. Not fun. Yeah, Brian, I hate Chicago traffic. I've had opportunities to go to Chicago for things that I've turned down because just the thought of the traffic just stresses me out. Like I can't do that. I can't sit like that. Um, I've been in some rough ones. And this facility that Chicago has is at Elmhurst University, and Elmhurst is like on the north. I think. Well, Elmhurst University is it's definitely west of Chicago. I can't remember if it's like up the coast or. Well, no, that's not true. It's closer. I'm looking at it again. It's like in the vicinity of O'Hare. So that means whenever these teams travel to Chicago, like they absolutely positively must plan, like however long the map says it's going to take, like I would put 2-3 hours on top of that and just make a day out of it, because you want to make sure you're there. And you want to make sure you don't get any crazy variable traffic. Or you're going to hate it. But yeah, guys, curious to see if you guys have any final thoughts, anything that we didn't cover from the summer that you guys are excited about before we close things up here. I know it was a big summer for futsal, or at least it felt like it to me. This is the most excited I've been over the summer. Like normally by this time of year, I am like craving futsal in a bad way. Like, come on, please just come back. Like, let the leaves start changing colors. I want my futsal back. Let the snow fly. And people around me hate me for saying those kinds of things. But this year we've had so much going on that, you know, I've had my fix all year, which is really cool. Really cool. Well, one final thing I'll say is, as we're wrapping things up here, is if you happen to come across this and you are interested in sponsorships for any of the FCS teams, or if you want to be a sponsor for the league and buy ad space, those are things that I am constantly working on and trying to figure out how to make them work for people. So please reach out to the email listed in the description of this email here. You can also email director@futsalchampionseries.com. Notice it's not commish. But you know, you can reach out to me at either of those or on social media, and if I can do something to help raise your brand awareness through what we're doing here, I would be more than happy to do it. So let me know, see what we can work out. We do have our first sponsor for a game already, which I'm really excited about. People told me it couldn't be done before I joined FCS, and it was too hard and there's not enough time to do it. And it's small money, but you know, it's not gonna like it's not gonna, you know, change the game, but it's money. And it was somebody that was very willing and very excited to be having ad space on a game. So I'm really glad that it's happening. It's starting to happen, and I hope that success continues to roll on and we can prove that it can be done. The worst thing you could do is tell me I can't do something. I'll find a way to do it. I want to prove you wrong. I am a petty guy when it comes to that kind of mindset. I'm gonna prove you wrong. You tell me I can't do something. Oh, all right, watch me. So I'm glad we got the first one on the board. And then Allied Marketing, of course, will be with us again this year, which is really exciting. They're our league name sponsor. They do so much for us with our production help and our team of people. You know, that they're so invaluable to us. So that's really exciting. And then we just need to kind of find a way to supplement it from here. So I can put packages together for people. We can find group packages or individual games, whatever you guys want to do. If you're interested in doing something like that, and it's affordable, it's not expensive. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to talk about and get people's name out there. The futsal community is a passionate one, and they support people who support the game. So if you want to find a passionate customer base, you'll find it here. That's for sure. The tours and showcase certainly helped. The tours and showcase certainly helped hold us over the summer. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think, you know, I even think back to when COVID was starting to like kind of unwind slightly, and NFPL did that summer tournament, like how much that held me over till the winter, especially after losing half a season right after I fell in love with the sport. You know, that's the thing that really, I think will help grow things, is doing things in the summer and getting the idea of like year-round futsal going, I think will be huge. So hopefully we can continue to grow that. In the famous sports, sports, yes, sports things. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Guys, hey, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I know this was massively impromptu and super informal, but I do appreciate the fact that we have a community that shows up for this kind of stuff and wants to hang out. You know, that the community that we've built here is strong. I'm looking forward to getting back into the groove of things. And I appreciate you guys being patient with me with the struggles I've had this year with staying on task. I'm way off my personal goals for this channel. I'm not going to hit my personal goals for the year with this channel, but I'm going to do everything I can to get back on track for what should happen. So thank you guys again for tuning in. As always, so much fun hanging out with you guys with the futsal community. We're a passionate bunch, aren't we? And we have some fun. So guys, until my next video, hopefully coming out soon, we will talk to you soon. Spoiler alert, it's about a goat. Guys, until I see you then, you know the deal. Don't forget to play with your soul.